In this tutorial, I show you how to submit a single frame render using 3ds Max and the UTSOA Render Farm, as well as multiple iterations of a single frame render. This tutorial assumes that you already have the basics set up, so I'll brush through those quickly. First, be sure you have a core share on Arch Data. Make that shortcut to the desktop to ensure you are using the full UNC path to avoid issues later. Next step for submitting a single frame is I have test 3D model open. And first thing we'll do is go to render setup. I'm using V-Ray at this point for the render engine. This is a single frame time output. My single frame, I'm going for low res at first, just to be sure my workflow is working correctly. Next stop is the render output. I want to be sure I'm saving this single render to the server. All right, this is my stills directory. So to be sure I'm going there, I'm using that shortcut I just made on the desktop to ensure I'm going to the server and navigating to stills, providing a single render with a name and save as type. I'm going to go for bitmap for low res to prove that everything's working correctly, and then probably change to TIFF or EXR later for better resolution. Select save, say OK. I'm ready to go here. Next stop to submit this single frame, or my first iteration to the render farm, is our render pull down and submit scene. I want to be sure I save my model. Okay, my model is now saved and our submitter tool is open. This is a single frame. I want to verify my settings here. All looks good with our file name database. Single step, single render, BMP. Looks good. Render preview first is an option. Uncheck that so I don't have to wait for it. I'm going to submit this one to the production only. Don't necessarily have to since it's a single render. I could probably go to the entire pool of farmers and be okay. Let's see, that is it. I verified myself. It's 3ds Max. It is V-Ray. It is 2019. All looks good. And I'm saying submit with a 350 by 200 res small image. Okay, single frame submission and iterate is my next step. Back to my render setup in 3ds Max. Single time output. Instead of 350 by 200, I'm going to push it to 15 by 9 as my next iteration. Render output, I'm going to go to files and give it a unique name. Maybe I call this single render medium. Keep it as bitmap. That's probably fine for this exercise. Back to our render for my second iteration, submit scene, say yes to save. My 3ds Max model is now saved. Submitter is open. Scene settings, 15 by 9 looks good. This time I'm just going to submit it to the entire pool of farmers and submit. Closing the submitter tool, back to render setup. I'm going to go back to our time output, a single frame, and iterate a 4K image as my third. And back into files to give it a unique name. In this case, I'm going to use this little plus sign as a 3ds Max tool just to give you another option, which will just add a number on the end, which I could have gone with single render and no word like medium or large, but I'll say plus sign save. It's got an O1 there, ready to go. Or render, save my model again. Okay, my 3ds model is saved, submitter is open. Scene settings, verified I am at 4K, unique name, and a bitmap. This will go into the entire pool. I'm okay with render preview first and submit. Closing the submitter. As a fourth iteration, I'm just going to change the save as type to TIFF to see what the difference is between bitmap and TIFF. Plus sign to add a 2. Accepted the defaults for TIFF. I could also change several settings for this iteration within V-Ray as another option and another part of this workflow of iterating. Our render pull down, submit scene, and save my model. All right, model is saved, submitter's open. This time is TIFF, unique file name is in place at 4K again. I'm submitting to the entire pool, not assigning to anything. I'll let the farm figure it out for me and submit. All right, closing the submitter. I have to see how my jobs are doing, which will be in RR control. Looks like everyone is in place and rendering. And sure enough, there's a single farmer that's taking on my single render iterations. The latest one hasn't been assigned yet, but will shortly. Of course, back to the RR monitor. Give it a refresh. Sure enough, there are my jobs. Okay, that's it for single frame iterations with our 3ds Max. Thanks for watching.